Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Today I have my Freebie Friday video where I offer free cut files, free sketches, and I do have a layout process video that starts around the 2-minute mark if you want to just catch that part. But first let's jump into these freebies. So here is the cut file that I have for you, and there's a bonus one in just another moment. And here is the sketch that I have based on that cut file, and that is what my process video will be on. And I wanted to mention a few things about this cut file before we dive in. These are file tabs and a file folder. I did have to score the file folder manually, and it is designed so that you can layer this first file tab on top of the file folder, and you could do the reverse cut of that same tab on the back side. Now, the last tab in this file is not the exact same as the first tab because of math. So those are slightly different. You would have to use that first tab as your layer on the file folder. Now, all of these do have little tab labels, which you will see in this project that I completed, which inspired this cut file to begin with. I wanted these file dividers to organize a card calendar that I'm working on so that I get cards out in the mail on time. I cut these in one layer of white cardstock, one layer of pattern paper, and then the little tab label in white cardstock. And that is how I set up that project. While I was at it, I created this cut file that has those exact same tabs that are stacked up, but they have a frame cut into them. Now, I will just cut all of these on my machine and line them all up and then put my fingers and kind of wiggle them, and that will line up the frame portion so that you can glue them together and turn them into this frame embellishment. I'm going to be using that embellishment on a project coming up on the 18th, so if you're interested in that, stick around. Here is a sample layout I did using the file folders, which contain all of these little tags and journaling cards as a memory keeping project. But I'm going to use the file tabs today in this layout process video. And because this is a lot of information and data that I took screenshots of about a heat wave, these file tabs lend to that kind of data vibe of this process. I am using this Simple Stories kit, which is called Sunkissed, and that collection is still available, so I will link you up below. And I'm just flipping through these pattern papers, trying to decide what I want to use. I like the teal with sunshine prints, but those sunshines have smiley faces, and this heat wave was definitely not a smiley occasion. So I also pulled out that pink and yellow sunshine print, and I will decide between the two. I have this Fancy Pants summer collection, which is called Simply Summer, and I just have the die cut ephemera here, and I'm just going to use a couple of pieces from that pack, and I will mix and match the Fancy Pants and the Simple Stories. So I do have the Simple Stories sticker book for this collection. I end up not using it, but I had it there in case I wanted it. And so here's where I changed my mind about those blue sunshines, and on the back is a bright yellow, and I think that color is going to be a great accent piece. Notice the sketch up in the corner has long vertical stripes. I'm going to turn that into one big stripe zone, which is edged by this yellow pattern paper and that red central design. These colors are very poppy against each other, which has that kind of hot vibe that I'm going for to talk about this heat wave. And I am setting up my file tabs pretty much like the sketch is there. And I will do a few things that are very much along the lines of the sketch, like my main focal photo and my title placement will go on that central tab. And pardon my language here with this title. I did keep it internet friendly. So I've got my title set up on there, and it is overlapping my photo to kind of frame the numbers of the temperature that I took a photo of my car internal thermometer. And I am setting up my journaling on that bottom section. I'm using stamping in the same two colors that I used to set up my title, so a red and a blue. And I'm going to create a longer stamped section here with my journaling stamp so that I have more room for lots of words about how I felt about this heat wave. Now this upper section, the photos were too much for that file tab. So I am keeping one of them as is. Those are screenshots off of the weather app heat predictions. And then I'm trimming down just the prediction portion for the other two that kind of shows the passage of time as the predictions got hotter and hotter. And I'm going to pop up some of those on foam dots, and I will date all of this with my date stamp. Now, because I wanted to expand the date to a date range, I did have to mask off the stamp so that I could get that range done. Now, it took me lots of tries to get it correct, and you can see me gluing on a tab that I had to cut off and use to glue on top of there. But eventually I got it done, and all of the other stamping went just fine, but sometimes you just have a hard time with it. I did outline all of those tabs with a black pen to help give them a little more pop. And then I'm breaking away from the sketch at this point and just kind of going on my own with embellishing and using up a lot of that empty space, that negative space around those file tabs for embellishing. I am adding more journaling tabs to kind of each area of embellishing because I did pick those embellishments for particular parts of the story, and I will rearrange my embellishments as needed to fit my little journaling tags on there. And that watering hose was about how my plants did not like the heat wave either. So I've got these last two zones to embellish, the central left zone and that column in between my journaling. And that column was the trickiest part, I think, for me to figure out. So I took a pause, and I knew I wanted to highlight some of these data points with these red enamel dots so that it would bring some attention to them, like the dates. And the maximum high temperature we hit was 115 degrees, which has never happened around here. It was intense. So those red enamel dots help point out that intensity. So another journaling block for that final cluster, and that is where I am going to call this layout good. As we take a close-up look at this layout and the still photos, I will say thank you so much for watching, and remind you that if you want any of the freebies, there will be links in the show description, so you can go grab those off of my blog. And if you enjoyed something about this video, I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up, because that really does help my channel. I will be back next week, definitely with a layout featuring that file frame that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Hopefully I can get one other video in there too, but I do have a busy week next week, so we shall see. I do hope you join me for what I do have on offer next week, and until then, I hope you have an artful day.